And Ron, if I can bring this up now, there's one thing, I talk about on my website, one policy that we haven't brought up yet that I want to say, because to get here, we have to change who can get elected and who can vote, right? Expanding our democracy is about having a representative democracy, of making sure what you and I are saying, what my students want, what community activists want, what Black Lives Matter want is actually being done. That is what representative means. And to get that, there's a couple of things we can do in California. So LA City Council has public financing of elections. It makes it a little easier to run. Granted, there's a lot of independent expenditures that are spent, which is awful. That's another thing we need to change in terms of campaign finance in our state. But one thing we can at least do for state politics is we have no sort of public financing option. So if you are a grassroots candidate trying to do things right, not taking this money, it's really the money you raise, and which makes it difficult. So I'm in favor of, publicly funding our elections to allow, my students to run one day, to allow someone who's actually been affected by homeless to be able to run one day, and actually have a legitimate chance of winning. It's not that they can't run, right? But it's that there's so many roadblocks. In fact, I want to point this out. When I was getting on the ballot for the primary, there was another young man, 21 Black man who grew up in Watts, who was, in my race, and I was happy that he was there. It's a democracy. Anyone should be able to run, but he had so many barriers in terms of financial for getting his name even on the ballot, that he had to drop out. And he's a smart young man, and so it's just, we need to really make sure we support candidates that are running. I also believe in proportional representation. Ranked choice voting is a great way to do that. Our state went to Bernie Sanders, and our voices, it's clear that our establishment people in office right now are not representing what California wants. I mean, and that's, so I believe in that. One thing I wanted was drastically expand voting access too, which is, allowing 16, 17-year-olds to vote in all local elections, including, school board, state, and also allow undocumented immigrants to vote. I know this sounds radical, but they are contributing a great part to our economy. A lot of them are paying their taxes and everything. And so I think they deserve healthcare. They deserve to have a voice in a place they've called home.
I'm with you 110%.
Yeah,
and I sometimes get flack for that, but I've been saying it for a long time. The voting age should be 16. If you can drive a car, you can cast a ballot.
Right.
And you know what? You're going to be voting for the wars they're going to try to send you to in 2 years. So, you should have a say. And one of the things that really made me more passionate about that was, I used to perform at a lot of colleges. I still do, every now and again, usually on an election year. I did a couple virtual ones this fall, but and I would say, who's going to go out and vote? Right. And the students who didn't raise their hand, I would ask, I was like, oh, why aren't you going to vote? And the answer 100% of the time was, I'm not old enough. And it's like, so here are civically engaged students who are concerned about the future of the world, yet they're not 18 yet, so they can't vote. By the time they are 18, they can be sent off to war. Right. They should have a freaking say in that. They should have a say in that. They should be able to vote when they're 16.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm with you on undocumented immigrants too. They should absolutely have the right to vote. I mean, and prisoners should have the right to vote.
I was going to say that was the next thing, because that's a form of voter suppression. I mean, we see what happened with Stacey Abrams in Georgia, where they were directly, suppressing the vote by making it hard to get to the voting centers, have really long lines, closing down voting centers. There's many forms of voter suppression that are to keep folks of color, keep lower income folks out from the process. And I think in addition to doing that, we need to abolish the Electoral College. We haven't said that yet, but that needs to be done 100%. But we also need to remove these systemic barriers that maybe someone might not see as a direct barrier to voting, but that is, right? Anything that's not allowing someone to vote is a barrier, period.
Look at what they did in Louisville.
Yeah.
I mean, what they did in Louisville, you literally saw the footage of people banging on the doors. And by the way, this was a Democratic election, by the way. This was the pro-Trump Democrat versus the actual progressive, where they screwed over the progressive. And chances are that pro-Trump Democrat's going to lose to Mitch McConnell. That's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But, in the city centers, they had people banging on the doors to vote. It's by design. It's by design to do it. And at the end of the day, I think it's all about preventing any type of systemic change. That's why, generally speaking, the Democrats do a lot of the shenanigans in the primaries to make sure the progressives get squashed out. And then in the general, the Republicans do more of the shenanigans to make sure that Wall Street, we don't even have to have the person who has to give lip service against Wall Street. We can just have the straight up, no holds bar, Wall Street candidate.
Yeah.
That's what they do, and it's by design.
Yeah. And I want to point this out too. Like, I am kind of sick of like, again, this is going to be controversial, but I think your audience is controversial, so it's okay. But the fact that, right now with the Biden and Kamala Harris ticket, they have to play it safe and say, oh, we are for fracking, we are all these things. And their argument is they're trying to get the swing states and all that. But at the end of the day, when you look at a lot of the policies that we want, the majority of Americans believe in it. I mean, and so I don't even know. They're just playing for what, like a really select voter population. It's just, I don't know. It just boggles my mind. It's like so twisted that they have to, I don't even know what they're doing. I can't even really define it, but I just feel like they're not speaking to what people really want.
They're
'Cause
what the establishment let through.
yeah,
They're what the establishment permitted. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like if your first concern was winning and you really wanted to win, why would you screw over the guy who had an entire movement behind him, not once, but twice?
yeah,
Why?
yeah,
Why? And they can say like, oh, McGovern this, McGovern that. Like, no. Because look at where public opinion is. Look at all the polls that had Bernie beaten Trump twice. Look at all the 70% of Americans want Medicare for all. Most of the Americans in this swing state, they don't like fracking. They want long-term solutions. They want jobs, but they want sustainable, clean jobs. They don't want to go into a mine the way people did 50
and Ron,
years ago.
the people who are working those jobs are the most at risk. So anyone that says we're taking away jobs, those are the people. Like, if you told a person working in something in fracking or in mining that we can offer you, over a few years, we're going to give you training and offer you this job where you're safer. Of course, they'll take it if it's
They're
a
going to
good
take it.
job. They're going to take it. Why? It's not their choice. They're doing it because that's the only job that we're paying. We're paying to add more to oil drilling and this. Of course, there are going to be jobs there because that's what they're doing. But if you really change the infrastructure and offer someone a safer job, it's a no-brainer. Of course,
it's a no-brainer. And you know what else will be a difference too? In most cases, not in every single case, but in a lot of cases, it's a permanent job.
Yeah,
it's not. A lot of those fracking, they're temporary jobs. Because I saw it. I traveled the country 45 weeks a year for a long time. I grew up in Western Pennsylvania. I've seen it. First of all, if you ever see a fracking site close up, it is a scary sight.
yeah,
It is. I don't see how any reasonable person would look at this and be like, yeah, this is fine. We should be doing this.
yeah.
It is creepy. It is creepy, and it
is.
looks dangerous beyond comprehension. It's like, no, we should not be doing this. We should not be doing this.
Mhm.
But a lot of these jobs are temporary, and then they just move on. Like, people just move on to a different town. It's completely just a scam above scams.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And Joe Biden is full-throatedly for it. He promises he won't ban it. That's the one thing he's thorough on. I won't ban it. I won't ban it.
I know. It's ridiculous. I mean, I think that's why I'm running, and we have a lot of other, good local politicians running, because, it won't be easy, even if we get into office. But I think if we can really create a system where we hold the roots of the problems accountable, right? The money in politics, and we pass laws to change that, pass laws to make it easier for folks to run, expand voting, call out our colleagues that are doing the wrong thing, and not, I think that can really change the system, and I have hope in that. I really, really do. And I wouldn't be running if I didn't believe in like that we can make a change through our policy. I really wouldn't be,
Yeah, well, and hey, things like ranked choice voting,
Mhm.
things like, and if we do have an alternative electorally, then, folks like you will have an option to either build alliances, or you can always just switch teams. So
Yeah.
expanding the electorate, ranked choice voting, that will really help the cause for true
Yeah.
systemic change,
Yeah. And
true
I think,
progressive change.
yes, and we have some great third parties right now, but I feel like in the system we have, unfortunately, it's hard for them,
Yeah.
right? To really get a seat at the table. And I don't think that's fair. And I think, Charles Booker may have won in a ranked choice voting type of primary election. You never know. And so, like, I just think it gives voice to just more folks. That's all it is. I mean, that's what it's about, So it's about vote. You can actually vote for a candidate you believe in, and that candidate actually has a shot. Like, we don't have that right now, right? I mean, right now people are being shamed for voting third party because, in a swing state or something like that. But it's because our system doesn't allow, for that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's change it.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you wanna know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your